Welcome to the Matrix Resurrections review. This will be a part one with that particular non-spoiler review tagged on at the end of this video. The first part of this video is redefining the term nostalgia. Now, nostalgia is a sentimental longing or wistful affection for the past, typically for a period or place with happy personal associations. So let's look into that first. The Matrix Resurrections is a film and a very long line to grace our silver screens that just have this tint, this rose-colored tint of nostalgia all over the film. So before we get there, let's take a look at some franchises that are similar to this. And we'll take a little deep dive into that. First off is Ghostbusters. I was born in 1986. I grew up on Ghostbusters and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Those were the first two franchises I can remember as a kid growing up. And I loved them both. For Ghostbusters, I loved the movies. Of course, I loved the cartoons. I had all the action figures. I had the big firehouse. Ecto Cooler, oh my God, this stuff was great. But I was a kid. Your kids get wrapped up in that stuff. Growing up, other franchises would come out, and Ghostbusters, they kind of faded into the background, which is okay. That's what franchises or things of that nature are supposed to do. New things come along and take over, then you have your primary focus on something else. You still have warm feelings for whatever the old franchise was, and you respect it, but now you have eyes on something else that preoccupies your time, such as the Ninja Turtles, because that was the next step. Their movies, their cartoons, their action figures, pizza. If you were a Ninja Turtles fan, you either had to love pizza or what were you doing? Hell, even the first VHS tape had a Pizza Hut commercial at the very beginning. And I think number 2, Secret of the Ooze, it opened up on people eating Domino's pizza. So that franchise lasted a little bit longer than the Ghostbusters. I know the 80s cartoon was my jam, and then that stopped. Up until 2003, but before that, Ghostbusters had a very small resurgence, kind of like other franchises, like X-Men 2000 and Spider-Man 2099 or whatever that show was called. Extreme Ghostbusters, and I watched maybe the first 2 episodes, and I was like, no, this is not for me, because I had separated and walked away from that franchise. Not walked away. I had separated it and put it back here. It's like, this is what I remember. This is nice. No need to go back to it. And then, of course, the Ninja Turtles in 2003, I didn't watch any of that either. I had grown past all that. So the next phase after Ninja Turtles, can you take a wild guess? Go, Power Rangers! It was the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That, I would probably say to this day, was the biggest franchise of my childhood growing up. Because how many seasons are they on now? I don't watch it. So, I watched. It was so. The entire world was swept up in Power Rangers, and it caused a lot of gruff with not kindergarten, but before school and after school places. I remember Kids Care back in Farmville, Virginia, where I'm from originally, and it was like 3 or 4 in the afternoon after school, and I knew what I was doing, and I was telling the other kids, they're not gonna let us watch Power Rangers. They say it's too violent. I was like, I got this. And I was like, I think Aladdin's on. And they're like, are you sure it's not too late for Aladdin? I said, no, I think it's on. And we caught a glimpse of the blue and pink ranger in a putty for just a second. And I'm like, we won. We won the evening. We were obsessed with Power Rangers growing up. And you know, once it got through Mighty Morphin, Zeo Turbo, In Space Lost Galaxy, that was the cap of the Zordon era. I know I'm showing my Power Rangers nerdism, but hear me out. You know, and I would still follow it because that show left such an impression on me that, you know, I was like, well, what's the next season? Oh, wow. And then it got to like Dino Thunder, which Tommy came back, the original Green and White Ranger. I think I stopped right around SPD, Mystic Force, whatever was before Jungle Fury. Because I saw Jungle Fury and I'm like, no, I'm good. I would then later come back and watch RPM, which by far ranks up there as one of the like top 5. And then when Saban bought them back from Disney, because after Wild Force, Disney had bought Haim Saban, and then that started the Ninja Storm, the Bruce Kalish-splosion era. Power Rangers fans, you know what I'm talking about. And then Haim Saban bought them back, and that started not Ninja Storm. That started Samurai, Power Rangers Samurai, which brought Bulk back and Skull's nephew. I watched a few of those. That was not very good. Then Mega Force and then Super Mega Force. I'm one of the rare people that love Super Mega Force and Operation Overdrive, if we're being completely honest here. But to each their own. It's like opinions and assholes. Everybody has one. And then I stopped after that. And then fast forward a few years, the 2017 Power Rangers movie, I liked it. You know, I mean, it wasn't over the moon, but I enjoyed it. And now they're, you know, that's something that I think Netflix Hasbro now has the rights to Power Rangers, and they're going to have all new stuff on Netflix, which I wouldn't mind checking out. You know, I'm not going to sit there and on pins and needles and wait for it. But, you know, if I have an opportunity and Netflix is available to me, I'll give it a watch. You know, I'm not going to obsess over it. I'm not going to be waiting at my computer, awake at all times of the night, waiting for a trailer to come out. No, that's not what grown adults do. And I'm going somewhere with that, so don't get pissed off yet. Alongside the Power Rangers, we have Star Trek, Star Wars. Star Wars was the jam for me, the original 3 at least. The way I got started into the cosmic fandom was my dad showed me the original Star Trek movies. I don't care for the original series. Put your pitchforks down, all right? I love the original movies, and I know that's not the same, but that's what I grew up on.
Jim, be careful.
We will.
I'll give you another one. Batman, 1989. I was 3 years old. My dad took me to the theater. I fell asleep. I was 3 years old. Take my nerd card if you want to. I'm freely giving it away because I don't consider myself a nerd or a geek anymore. So there you go. But Star Trek. I love those movies. Even Undiscovered Country. So my dad's like, hey, if you like Star Trek, watch these. For whatever reason, Star Wars was so much better because I had all the action figures, not the original Kenner ones, the Power of the Force action figures. Man, and I had the ships. I played endlessly with Star Wars and watched this. I would have the movies playing and going along with the action figures. I mean, kid being a kid, pure and simple. So you fast forward to the special editions, which there was a contest in Farmville at the local Taco Bell that had just opened up. But it was during one of the bad blizzards from my childhood. And you had to be there in person to answer the trivia question and get a prize. And they were also giving prizes out, tickets to go see the special editions in theaters. So I was like, we got to go. So we were late because of the blizzard, which is fine. I got a couple of Western VHS tapes. I don't remember what they were, but I got to fight Darth Vader. If I can find the photo, I'll put that here. So yeah, that was really cool. The special editions came out, and then word of the prequels came around. It's like, oh, we're gonna find out how Darth Vader got the suit. That's cool. Oh boy. Then we get the Phantom Menace, which as a kid, I loved it. Grow up a little bit, Attack of the Clones was like, oh, okay. Now not so much. Then of course I love episode 3 because for whatever reason, I love the turn. The downfall of the anti-hero or the hero, the circumstances involved in that. Case in point, I think that's why my favorite Dragon Ball character is Vegeta. You want to see me cry like a little baby? Put me in front of a TV and put on Final Atonement. Just saying. So back to Star Wars. So we get through the prequels, and I was a video game guy too. So I would have the Jedi Starfighter, Episode 1 Phantom Menace video game, Episode 3. And that's not a show or a movie franchise, but video games. I grew out of that too. So let's take a look at one more franchise, if you want to call it that. Wrestling. I think that, more so than Power Rangers, supersedes every franchise I have ever grown to love or hate. We'll get to that. For more in-depth on the wrestling thing, check out the first episode of The Turnbuckle. I did that, October, November of last year, 2020. So please check that out. That's a deep dive into how I got started into wrestling, why I left it, why I came back and left it again, and hadn't come back until the last year or so. So I won't get into that here and bore you guys to death. We're talking about nostalgia. That's why I bring it up. So briefly, let's talk about it. WCW was my jam. World Championship Wrestling. WWF, World Wrestling Federation, was, that was the kiddie channel. It had Doink the Clown, da-da-da-da-da. WCW was more real, and I was getting older. And there were certain things that were happening on WCW in late 1998, early 1999 that were questionable, to say the least. And at that time, WWF was doing the Attitude Era. You had Mike Tyson showing up, so I was kind of skewing towards the WWF. And once WCW went out of business, it was all WWF until a certain point, which I said I covered in the Turnbuckle, and I stopped watching. So, saying all that, nostalgia, that sentimental longing, I think it's time that we redefine the term nostalgia, saying all that. And to underline that, I will say this. We started out with Ghostbusters. I saw Ghostbusters Afterlife. I gave it a 3 out of 10. It was things you know. Oh, this is familiar. It was too familiar. It's like, okay, it's Christmas Day is today. I'm giving the date away. So what? It's like Santa getting to the end of his day, and he has nothing but Ghostbusters presents. And he gets to Afterlife. He's digging at the bottom of that bag. He's got nothing. That's what I equated to. So Afterlife, I don't care if there's another sequel to this Afterlife movie. I have no interest in any more Ghostbusters things. Not saying that, like this past October, I had a chance to go see Ghostbusters, the original, in the theater. I passed up on it. Next year, I'm not going to pass up on it because I'd like to go see that. I think that'd be a fun time. I'm not going to buy a flight suit and build my own proton pack and wait out in front of the wait out in front of the theater for 7 hours to go see it. No, that's not what grown adults do. Your Star Wars. Oh, Lord. I blame the Disney buyout. I don't know if George was going to make 7, 8, or 9. He said, was it a Dateline interview in 2009? I was like, oh, so if you had, would you do it? No. $4.2 billion. He sold to the franchise rights to Disney. Disney didn't buy Star Wars just because, oh, that's cool, we have Star Wars now. No, they saw the dollar signs, i.e. toys, t-shirts, posters, video games, all that. The movies are kind of almost secondary to all that. Whereas the first three, that's all it was. Well, the first one at least. The first, A New Hope, episode 4. And I'm not saying the prequels weren't a action figure cash grab, because you look at some of the videos we did, I talk about the little communicator things. I had all the action figures before the Phantom Menace even came out, so it works, obviously. Yeah, once Disney bought Star Wars, that was the first nail in the coffin. That being said, I love The Force Awakens. I could watch that anytime. Anytime. I can sit down and watch it. Lord knows I watched it 6 or 7 times within 2 weeks of its opening day. So that tells you a lot right there. Once you just make these decisions like, okay, so if this is the way you're going, I don't care. Go back to Ghostbusters, like the 2016 movie. It's not a misogynistic thing. It's not a lady thing. It was a reboot, and it had nothing to do with the original story, so I didn't care to see it. I still haven't seen it, and I don't want to see it. I don't. So, all that being said, nostalgia probably now is like an overwhelming longing or wistful affection for the past that prohibits healthy growth and promoting objective thinking, i.e., man-children, basement dwellers that refuse to grow up. And no, I'm not on one side or the other, because that goes back to the whole 2016 debate of Ghostbusters. And apparently that's being drudged back up. Let me touch on that for a second. There's a Ultimate Collection of Ghostbusters movies coming out. February of next year? I saw it last night as I was reading some articles. And apparently the whole 2016 debate just is starting to blow up again. And I'm like, why? Who cares? Ghostbusters 2016 is left out of this Ultimate Collection. Okay, if it was like a penultimate or a complete collection, I could see where you would be angry. But at the end of the day, we can't force feed our children or the younger generation our toys and be like, no, this I know I don't have any action figures, but this squeezable strawberry jam will do. It's like, no, this is Han Solo. He fought for the rebellion. This is what you like. Instead of letting them watch Ben 10 or something, I don't know. Letting them form their own decisions without your influence. Drag them to go see your nostalgia for your sake. So, that being said, The Matrix Resurrections. I was driving to the theater going, this movie's probably going to suck. Now, I did get a little nostalgic on the way there, because I remembered, hey, you always heard about Lord of the Rings, the first one. You always heard about The Matrix, the first one, when they first came out. Okay. You didn't want to go see them at all, because Lord of the Rings was like the complete opposite of Star Wars and Star Trek. It's like, who wants to go see that? No. Bunch of dwarves and stuff. And some elves and some wizards. No. That's why I hadn't seen Harry Potter up until just a couple weeks ago, which we'll get into that later. That'll be a separate topic for another video. And The Matrix, I thought it sounded too weird for me until it was late night on a Saturday night. I was in my dad's kitchen watching a little TV, literally a little TV in the kitchen with sour cream and onion Pringles and Dr. Pepper. Oh no, sweet tea. And The Lord of the Rings came on, and it was a little bit past, it was like half an hour in. So I started to watch it. By the end, I was hooked. And when Frodo and Sam started walking down the mountain towards Mordor and it faded to black and the credits hit, I'm like, you son of a... Like, I gotta know where this goes. And that's what hooked me into Lord of the Rings. The exact same thing happened with The Matrix. By the end of The Matrix, I'm like, dude, this is great. So yes, I saw The Two Towers and Return of the King in the theaters. I saw Reloaded and Revolutions in the theater. And I love them, both those franchises equally. Maybe Lord of the Rings a little bit more. Return of the King, that ending. Well, those 5 endings. So I was like, okay, you know what? The trailer didn't look all that promising, but you know what? Just clear your mind. Don't think anything negative. Just be open-minded. Don't put your expectations up here. Keep them about here. So I bought my ticket, went in there, waited 45 minutes for the movie to start. It had start time of 11:15. The movie didn't start till like 11:55. And the first hour and a half, and I told Dan this yesterday, I said, I literally sat there and every 5 minutes like, what the is going on? What is this? Because it's completely different from the other 3 in a major way. And I dare say this concept that they wrote it down on paper. They looked at it. They're like, oh, this is unexpected. This is going to work. People are going to love this. Take it from the paper, apply it in practice. It did not translate from pen and paper to screen at all. So once the big reveal is made, you're like, okay, so it took you an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes just to get to that point to go, oh, well, this happened. It's actually this. None of what you just saw, it's this. Okay. So then we watched, throughout the first hour and a half, it's basically the first movie all over again. It's literally the first movie all over again. And then once the twist happens, we get we see some familiar faces along the way, and then it's back to just the same movie again. And there are 2 characters that I love in this movie. One of them is a familiar face. I use that term very loosely. This character is back in a very unexpected way, and very cold and calculating. He reminded me a lot of, or they reminded me a lot of Sylar from Heroes, like the first season Sylar, that cold, melancholy. You know, he could kill you at any moment. Or they could kill you at any moment.
That's true.
So I like that, even though it was kind of, we'll get into that in the spoilers. And then the other character, the new, is all I'll say. As villains go, the abilities this dude dudette shows off, I think, because the abilities that this character showed immediately brought me out of the movie, because I'm like, this is a fantastic idea, and I immediately would thought of either other movies to put this villain in, or a new situation to put this villain in, because I think that concept could work in another movie. Here, it works, but at the end of the movie, it's like it was useless. Which is what I'll give this whole movie a grade of, useless. Especially the end credit scene. I give this movie a 2 out of 10. The only reason I give this movie a 2 out of 10 and not lower is because of those 2 characters. You get a point for those 2 characters. So you get a 2 out of 10. The action scenes, the explosions, the special effects weren't great. I'm just like, God, this is what you use your budget on? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I will never see it again. If there are sequels to this, I don't imagine a world, unless we live in the dark timeline, that I'd go see them again. I'm happy with the first three. And I think if more people would take those rose-tinted glasses off and instead of blindly... Nostalgia is almost like the Matrix. You know, you're stuck in there and you're just blindly following what the program tells you to do. I think that's the perfect way to end this video. Nostalgia equates to the Matrix. In 2021, here we're almost 2022, I'd like to think that everybody wakes up and we can have an original movie with original thoughts, original dialogue, original action, because as Rich Evans always says, Star Wars is creatively bankrupt. I think at this point, Hollywood is creatively bankrupt. So with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed. I hope I didn't ramble on too much. Hey, maybe I sparked up some feelings for you guys of a little bit of nostalgia from what I was talking about with those other franchises. But I tell you what, we'll get into spoilers. No more nostalgia talk. We're done with that. I've given you my piece. You go take that with you to sleep tonight. You think about it. You come back next week. We're going to have part 2. We're going to spoil the Matrix Resurrections. I don't know what Resurrections is, but we're going to spoil it next time.
To be contenders.